If you're thinking about replacing your sales team with AI, you're about to learn an expensive lesson that dozens, if not hundreds of companies are learning right now. Personally, I've had multiple businesses approach me just in the last few months alone, begging me to replace their AI setters with real human setters after they've actually watched their conversion rates tank. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why AI will never replace salespeople, especially in high-ticket sales, and why the best closers and setters will always have jobs in this ever-growing AI niche of an explosion that we've seen lately. Now, let me tell you what's happening right now in the market currently. Companies are getting sold on AI setter technology and promises to automate lead qualification and appointment booking. The pitch sounds amazing, right? Never pay a human setter again, save thousands a month, and scale infinitely. So they implemented those strategies, and here's what has happened. Their show-up rates have actually dropped. Their lead quality actually dropped. And their sales team became painful, or their sales calls became painful because prospects show up to the call confused, annoyed, or not actually qualified in the first place. And I've personally talked with multiple companies over the past few months alone who implemented AI setters and are now desperately trying to replace them with human setters. Now, one company specifically told me that their show-up rate dropped from all the way from 65%, which is still pretty low, down to 35% after switching to AI. Now, let's ask ourselves the questions why they are coming back to humans and why the bell curve is basically starting to reverse. Well, these business owners thought that, they were saving money by cutting out human setters. Instead, they destroyed their sales process and lost more money in missed revenue in missed opportunities than they would have saved on setter commissions in the first place. Now they're coming back to me and saying, hey, we need real human setters and we need them fast, and we'll basically pay whatever it takes to fix this, right? And the AI experiment basically failed because they forgot one fundamental truth about sales, which is people buy from other people, especially in high-ticket sales, right? Now, let's talk about the scale versus the quality trade-off that you get when you implement AI setters within your business. Because look, yes, AI can handle infinite volume, right? But my question to you is, what good is that infinite volume if none of those leads convert in the first place, right? For an example, you can book 100, 200, 300, appointments with AI that might result in 5 sales. Or alternatively, you can book 40 appointments with real humans that result in 15 sales. More is not always better. Better is better. And please remember that too. Now, let's talk about the 3 pillars that AI cannot replace, because there is a fundamental law in sales, right? Especially in high-ticket sales, which goes as follows, and I'm sure you've heard this one before. People buy from other people they know, like, and trust. Those are the 3 pillars that you need in order to get a sale, right? Now, let me show you why AI fundamentally cannot establish these 3 pillars. And let's start with the first one, which is know, which is building genuine connections, right? And these days that, knowing someone isn't just about having their information in a database, right? It's about having real conversations where you understand their situation, their struggles, their goals, and their personality, right? And when a real human or a real human setter calls a lead, they're basically having, a real conversation, right? They're picking up on things such as tone, emotion, and context. They're also asking follow-up questions based on what they are hearing and the feedback they are receiving, right? And they're adapting in real time. And listen, AI is great, right? But there's certain things that AI cannot do. Like AI can basically follow a script and respond to keywords, but it cannot have a genuine conversation with people, or where real understanding develops and people feel like they're actually being heard and understood, which is really, really important in high-ticket sales. Now, I'm sure you can tell in this day and age where people can, smell the bullshit. They can basically see through the lens of the screen, right? Like you can watching this video, you can know if I'm bullshitting or not bullshitting, right? You can sense the authenticity from people real quick. And most people are like that these days, right? And your prospects can tell the difference immediately, right? Within 30 seconds of talking to an AI, right? They will know that they're not talking to a real person, right? Who actually cares about their situation, which again is important, right? Now let's talk about the next pillar, which is the like pillar, right? Where this is creating authentic rapport, right? Now, again, people like other people who feel like they basically have them understood, right? Or, that the other person has shown interest in them, or the other person has basically showed, that they actually cared about the prospect, right? And AI can be programmed to be polite and friendly, but it cannot genuinely, like people because it's not a person, right? There's no personality, there's no humor, there's no authentic warmth to it, right? Now, I challenge you, think about your own experience, right? Have you ever, liked talking to an automated system? Or have you ever felt connected while chatting to a chat box, for an example? Of course not, right? Now, high-ticket buyers especially are sophisticated enough to recognize when they're being processed by a system versus, being understood by a person. And they don't like feeling processed in my experience, right? Now let's talk about the third pillar, which is the trust pillar specifically. And this is the process where you are actually establishing credibility with your prospect, right? And this is a big one, right? Because trust is the foundation of all high-ticket sales. Now, when somebody is about to spend 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, even 50 grand with you, they need to trust that you are going to deliver on that service, right? And trust is built through the following. Authentic human interaction is one, right? Another one is, reading between the lines of what prospects are really trying to say, right? Which AI cannot do. Or showing genuine care for their success, or demonstrating expertise through real conversation, right? And ultimately, making them feel heard and understood. AI cannot do any of this automatically. It can fake some of it, sure, but prospects can tell, right? And the moment they sense that they're being processed by automation, that trust is going to absolutely evaporate, right? Now, let's talk about the uncanny valley problem, right? And let me explain what that is in the first place. Now, there's something called the uncanny valley in AI. And this is basically when something is almost human, right? But it's not quite, right? It creates a sense of discomfort and distrust, right? And this is exactly what happens in AI and especially in sales. The AI, right, that they make these days, they sound human, right? But you can feel something is off, right? And that off feeling destroys trust faster than anything else in sales. And here is a rule that will never change, right? You cannot sell products or high-ticket products or services over $1,000 with humans completely removed from the sales process. Now, sure, can you do that, right, with AI? Sure, right? But the point I'm trying to make here is that your conversions are never going to be as high when selling high-ticket products when you're putting them through an automated system versus maybe leveraging automated systems but actually talking to humans, right? Like have your prospects talk to humans. And we'll dig into that in a little bit here specifically, right? Now, fundamentally, the higher the ticket price, the more human touch is required, right? And this isn't going to change with better AI technology. It's fundamental to human psychology, right? Now, I've been actually hammering AI specifically, right? But let's talk about what AI actually do well and what it doesn't, right? And let me be absolutely clear. AI isn't useless in sales, right? But you need to understand what's actually good or what it's actually good at versus what it will never be good at, right? At least in this day and age where we are right now at the time of filming this video, right? Now, let's talk about what AI is great at. Number one, sending initial automated messages and emails, speed to lead. AI is great at that, right? And another thing that AI is really good at is scheduling and calendar management, right? Or another thing is data entry, CRM updates, or basic FAQ responses, right? Or maybe routing leads to the right person, or follow-up reminders and sequences. These are administrative tasks that, support the sales process, but aren't really actually selling, right? Now let's talk about what AI cannot do, right? AI cannot build genuine relationships or read emotional nuances and adjust accordingly. Or it cannot handle complex objections with empathy, right? Can it handle objections? Sure. But can it handle those objections with empathy and read between the freaking lines, which is so important in sales? No, right? Another thing that AI cannot do is establish trust with high-ticket buyers, right? Or adapt to unique situations that don't necessarily fit the script that they were basically programmed to speak on, right? And another thing that's really important in high-ticket sales is making prospects feel heard and understood, which AI cannot do. These are the things that actually close deals, especially in high-ticket sales, right? Now let's talk about the solution here, which is the hybrid approach that actually works, right? Now, the smart approach is using AI for administrative tasks while keeping humans basically in all the selling, basically all the parts in your sales process where you have to talk to a prospect, right? Besides the little chat box that's answering FAQs on your website, have humans be on the front lines talking to actual other humans, right? And then you can have AI deal with all the administrative tasks or all the follow-up tasks after that. Okay, let AI basically handle the scheduling and the reminders, right? And then let humans handle the actual conversations that build trust, relationships, and actually close deals, right? Because companies that try to remove humans completely from their sales process always learn this lesson the hard way, at least what I have seen, right? Now, let's talk about the quality versus cost calculation, right? Because business owners look at AI, and trust me, I've done this as well, and basically think to themselves, oh, I can save $5,000 a month on basically setter commissions, but they don't calculate the cost of lower show-up rates, worse quality leads, decreased conversion rates, and damaged brand reputation, because lost deals would have closed, right, with human touch. And those are the things that are the unmeasurable KPI. Sure, you can measure them, right? But you are actually going to have to look at your conversion rates before and after you implement these changes, because I can almost guarantee you that your conversion rates are going to skyrocket if you have a completely AI basically sales system right now, if you just plug and play in some real humans, right? Because when you actually do the math in your business, AI often costs you more in the long run than it actually saves, right? Now, let's talk about why great salespeople, here's the term, great salespeople will always have jobs, right? And here's what you need to understand about the future of sales. Great salespeople, they're not going away, right? In fact, they're becoming more valuable, not less valuable, right? Now, the increasing value of human skills as basically more companies try to automate their sales processes, the companies that invest in elite humans right now and in talent will have a massive competitive advantage in the future, right? And when your competitors are using AI and prospects are frustrated with talking to, robotic interactions, right? And not feeling heard and understood, your human setters or closers will provide genuine connections that will become incredibly and more increasingly valuable over time, right? Now, let's look at the high-ticket reality specifically, because in high-ticket sales, the need for skilled salespeople is not decreasing, right? It's actually increasing, because as products and services become more complex and more expensive, the need for consultative human selling only grows, right? Because look, nobody's buying a 20 grand coaching program from an AI. Nobody's signing a 50 grand retainer or consulting contract based on automated conversations that they've had, right? Skills cannot be automated. Great salespeople have skills that cannot be replicated by AI, at least not today, right? And these are things like reading people and adapting in real time specifically, right? Or building genuine rapport and trust, or handling basically complex emotional objections, right? Or basically positioning value in ways that resonate with the prospect's personality, right? Or basically creating urgency without being pushy, right? These are all basically, skills that, require judgment, empathy, and intuition, and most importantly, experience, right? Now, the market is self-correcting because right now we're seeing the market basically correct itself, right? Companies that have tried AI and, basically found out that it didn't work, right? They're coming back to real humans. And this isn't temporary, right? This is the market teaching everyone what actually works in sales. And basically what works is the human connection, especially in high ticket sales. Because look, in America, we live in a capitalistic society, right? There are a ton of marketers and there's this huge craze about AI. So all these little companies popping up, having AI setters, having AI closers, trying to implement AI everywhere in the sales process. It's actually, the bell curve is going to reverse, right? Because if you think about everything that I just mentioned in this video, right, you will soon come to realize that there needs to be a human touch in high ticket sales. Now, I'm not saying AI is bad, right? AI is actually great, right? And AI can be implemented in so many aspects of your business. But especially in the sales process, when you're selling a high ticket, product or service, it is so important more than ever to introduce the human touch and the human element, right? Now, let's talk about job security for a player specifically, because if you're an elite closer or setter, you have more job security now than ever before, right? Because companies are realizing that they cannot automate sales, right? And the demand for skilled human setters, right, is actually increasing. And the gap between AI and great salespeople are not closing. It's actually widening, right? And this is exactly why at Sales Match, we're doubling down on placing elite human talent and not trying to replace them with AI. We've watched companies try to automate their sales processes and have actually come back to us begging for human setters and closers. And we've actually seen the data firsthand on how much better humans perform in actual sales conversations. Now, when you work with Sales Match, you're getting real humans who can build genuine relationships with your prospects. Because the setters and closers we actually go out and recruit for your business, they don't just book appointments. They build rapport, they build trust, right? And they properly qualify people before they even get on a sales call with your closers. And the closers that we recruit for your company, well, they don't just follow scripts, right? These closers have to have closed millions of dollars, right, in prior sales. And these guys and girls, they know how to read prospects. They know how to adapt to unique situations, right? And they know how to handle complex objections and build trust required for high ticket sales. And please remember, we have a policy, a 60-day replacement policy, that if the person we basically recruit for your business doesn't work out within 60 days, we'll replace them, no questions asked. But we're so confident in our replacement, basically in our replacements, because we're already placing people with genuine skills that AI cannot replicate. Because the future of sales is not AI replacing humans. The future of sales is elite humans supported by AI for administrative tasks. And we're here to position you for that future. So I really hope you found some value out of this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.